Okay, so moving on, we have finished in the previous videos the muscles of the leg. Now we're going to move on to discuss muscles of the foot. And muscles of the foot are somewhat complicated, but we'll try as much as we can to simplify them. And muscles of the foot can be divided into two distinct groups, okay? The extrinsic and the intrinsic muscles. The extrinsic muscles, the ones that are found externally, they arise from the anterior, posterior, and lateral compartments of the leg. And they are mainly responsible for actions such as eversion, inversion, plantar flexion, and dorsiflexion of the foot. I think we are referring to here the muscles of the leg themselves that act deeply on the foot, while intrinsic muscles are located on the foot themselves and are responsible for fine motor actions of the foot. For example, movements of the individual digits. Okay. Now we were gonna look at the muscles that are the intrinsic because we have dived previously on the extrinsic, and what they mean is the ones that come from the leg and attach on the foot that we have previously discussed in our previous videos. So now we will just discuss the intrinsic muscles. I will hide the ones that we don't need so that it makes it a little bit clearer for us what we are discussing from here, and get rid of those that we have already finished. You can check the previous videos if you're interested, but I will move on now to discuss the intrinsic ones. Now, first of all, we are gonna discuss the dorsal aspect here. There are two intrinsic muscles within the dorsal of the foot, the extensor digitorum brevis and the extensor hallucis brevis. So here, extensor hallucis brevis and extensor digitorum brevis. The extensor digitorum brevis is a small muscle, thin, and lie underneath the extensor tendons of the foot. The attachment, it originates here from the calcaneus, and it attaches onto the long extensor tendons of toes 2 to 4. You can see that it extends from 2 to 4. Okay. What it does, it extends extension of the lateral 4 toes. That's what it does. The lateral 4 toes, 2 to 4. Okay. Then it is innervated by the deep fibular nerve. Okay. The next one we're going to talk about is the extensor hallucis brevis, which is often considered to be found on the medial part to the extensor brevis, and it's a separate structure, originates also from the calcaneus and inserts onto the base of here the proximal phalanx of the greater toe. Okay, phalanx on great toes are proximal and distal, and we have the base of the proximal one. It extends the great toe and it is innervated by the deep fibular nerve. Okay. The next one, we have the plantar aspect. We are done with the dorsal aspect, made up of only two muscles. The plantar aspect, on the other hand, it is made up of 10 intrinsic muscles located at the plantar aspect. This is the plantar aspect. There are 10 muscles here. They act collectively to stabilize the arches of the foot and to control movements of the digits. Okay. They are innervated by medial and lateral plantar nerves, which are branches of the tibial nerve. So tibial nerve, as it comes here, it separates into lateral and medial plantar nerves, and they originate from the tibial nerve. muscles of the plantar aspect are separated or arranged into 4 layers. So here, the first layer, we have the abductor hallucis muscle. I'm gonna try my best to find it. So the abductor hallucis brevis. This is the adductor. This is the oblique heads. Let's see if we can. Yes, I think I found it. Ah, I've hid them. So here, the abductor hallucis originates from the medial tubercle of the calcaneus and attaches onto the base of the proximal phalanx on the big toe. And the action is abduction and flexion of the greater toe. Abduction, which is away from the body, and flexion downwards of the greater toe, innervated by medial plantar nerve. Next one is flexor digitorum brevis. Here, flexor digitorum brevis. It originates from the medial tubercle of calcaneus and it inserts into the middle phalanges of the lateral 4 toes. Action, flexion of lateral 4 toes. And the innervation is medial plantar nerve. And finally, the abductor of the digiti minimi, of course, from medial tubercle of calcaneus and attaches onto the medial or the proximal phalanx of the lesser toe, causes abduction of the lateral toe, and from the opposite angle or the other angle, we have flexion of little toe. Okay. The next thing we're going to talk about is the second layer. So the first layer we're done, where it's made up of 1, 2, and 3. We're going to hide them. Okay. The next layer is quadratus plantae. Quadratus plantae originates from medial and lateral plantar surface of calcaneus, here medial and lateral, and inserts to the tendon of flexor digitorum longus. So I will have to select the other one. Maybe it's this one. Multiple selection. And it inserts here onto the tendon, okay? It assists the flexor digitorum longus to cause flexion of the lateral 4 toes, and it's innervated by the lateral plantar nerve. Then we have in this layer lumbricals. 4 lumbricals in the second layer. 1, 2, 3, and 4. The lumbricals originate from the tendon of the flexor digitorum longus and attaches to the extensor hoods of the lateral 4 digits. You can see here. Okay. And action, it flexes the metatarsophalangeal joints and it extends the interphalangeal joint. Okay. Flexion of metatarsal phalangeal joint and extension of the interphalangeal joints. Innervation, medial plantar nerve to the 2 here, medial ones, and the lateral plantar nerve to the lateral ones. Going on to the third layer, we're going to remove the lumbricals. Yes. Hide this one. This is not it. Just give me a second. Of course, this one is a muscle that we don't need, so I'm gonna hide it. going to also try to hide the other ones as I did because I've hid them. Okay. So as I said, the second layer, we got rid of it, the lumbricals and the quadratus plantae. Now we're going to go to the third layer, flexor hallucis brevis. Here, you have a lateral head and a medial head. No, sorry, not this one. Yes, here, lateral head and medial head. The flexor hallucis brevis, it has two heads, as we said, and they originate from the lateral one. It originates from the plantar surface of cuboid and lateral cuneiform, and the medial originates from the tendon of the posterior tibialis tendon. Okay, and they both converge into a single muscle belly, which attaches to the base of the proximal phalanx of the greater toe. Okay, so this muscle is done. We'll hide it. The next one is adductor hallucis. It adducts the big toe. It originates from, and of course, it has two heads again, transverse and oblique. The oblique originates from the base of the second, third, fourth metatarsals, and it inserts together with the transverse onto the lateral aspect of the base of the proximal phalanx of the greater toe. And the transverse originates from the plantar ligaments of the metatarsophalangeal joints. Okay, so we will hide this one. And the function, of course, adduction of the greater toe, as I said, and it's innervated by deep branchial lateral plantar nerve. The deep branch of the lateral plantar nerve. Okay. Finally, we have flexor digiti minimi of the foot, brevis here, and it originates from base of fifth metatarsal and attached to the base of the proximal phalanx of the fifth digit. Flexion of the little toe. Innervation is superficial branch of the lateral plantar nerve. And that gives us the third layer. Now we're going to go into the final layer, which is the fourth, and then we'll be done by the muscles of the foot. Fourth layer is made up of plantar interosseous and dorsal interosseous. The plantar interosseous, they are three, 1, 2, and 3. They originate from the medial side of the metatarsals, 3 to 5, and attaches to the medial side of the phalanges of digits 3 to 5 again. Mainly adduction of 3 lateral digits and flexion of the metatarsophalangeal joints, okay, which are here, these joints. And the innervation is lateral plantar nerve. So when we hide them, what's left to us is the dorsal. Let's hide those. We don't need them to make it clear. This is also make it clear. Don't need them. What we're last talking about is here. The dorsal interossei. These are the second muscles of the deep or the fourth layer found in the muscles of the foot. The dorsal interossei originates from the lateral aspect of the metatarsals. The first muscle here, it attaches to the medial side of the proximal phalanx of the second digit here. And the second to fourth, attached to the lateral side of the proximal phalanx of digits 2 to 4 here, lateral. And they are innervated by lateral plantar nerve. What they are used to do is abduction of the lateral 4 digits and flexion of the metatarsophalangeal joints. Okay. And this is the end of our points for today. This we did the muscles of the leg and we did muscles of the foot. And in this case, we have covered all of the muscles of the lower limb. Okay.